It was a busy Saturday morning at the local supermarket. Families walked around with their shopping carts full of food for the week. The store was crowded and noisy, but one person stood out from everyone else. His name was Arthur Hale, and he looked like any other old man you might see on the street. Arthur wore old clothes that had seen better days. His hair was messy and gray. His shoes were old and had holes in them. Nobody in that store knew the truth about Arthur. He was actually very rich, a millionaire who could buy anything he wanted. But Arthur chose to dress like this on purpose. He wanted to see how people would treat him when they thought he had no money. Today was going to be special. Something would happen that would surprise everyone in the store. It would show that kindness can come from the most unexpected places. Arthur walked slowly through the store. He picked up simple things. Some bread, a bottle of milk, a few carrots, some soup in cans, and a small box of tea. His cart looked very different from other people's carts. Other shoppers had expensive meat, fancy wine, and costly chocolates. Arthur's food was basic and cheap. When it was time to pay, Arthur stood in line patiently. He watched other customers buy their expensive items without any problems. Finally, it was his turn. He put his simple groceries on the counter carefully, like each item was important to him. The cashier was a woman named Karen. She had a big smile and talked loudly to everyone. She was chatting and laughing with a man in an expensive suit who stood next to her. When Karen saw Arthur's cheap groceries, her smile got bigger, but not in a nice way. Arthur reached into his pocket and took out his bank card. It looked ordinary, nothing special about it. He put the card into the machine and typed in his secret numbers. Then he waited. A few seconds later, the machine showed a message that made his heart sink. Payment failed. Karen's friendly smile changed into a mean smirk. The man in the suit started to laugh quietly, like he was watching something funny on TV. "Your card doesn't work," Karen said loudly. She wanted everyone in the line to hear her. Arthur felt his face get hot with embarrassment. He looked at his card again, confused. The man in the suit laughed even louder and shook his head. He seemed to think it was silly that an old man couldn't pay for such cheap food. Other people in the store started to whisper and point at Arthur. Some rolled their eyes like they were annoyed. Arthur felt like everyone was staring at him. They all thought he was just a poor old man who couldn't afford his groceries. If you believe that being kind to others is important, please like this story and share it with people you care about. Leave a comment and follow our page. When you do this, you help us share these beautiful stories about good people with more hearts around the world. Arthur took a deep breath and tried his card one more time. But again, the machine said no. Karen tried not to laugh out loud. The man in the suit whispered something mean about people who try to buy things they can't afford. Arthur felt terrible, but he stayed calm. He didn't want to get angry or upset in front of everyone. What nobody knew was that Arthur had millions of dollars in his bank accounts. He wasn't poor at all. He was testing people again like he often did. He wanted to see if there were still good people in the world who would be kind to strangers. But what happened next would touch his heart in a way he never expected. At the back of the line, someone was watching everything quietly. His name was Samuel, and he worked as a janitor in the store. He wore a blue uniform that was old and faded. He had rubber gloves hanging from his belt and was holding a mop. Samuel had been cleaning the floors when he noticed what was happening to Arthur. Samuel saw how Arthur's shoulders dropped when people laughed at him. He saw how the mean words hurt the old man like sharp knives. He watched as more and more people started to judge Arthur unfairly. Samuel knew exactly how Arthur felt. Samuel worked very hard for very little money. Many people treated him like he was invisible, like he didn't matter. He knew what it felt like when people looked down on you because of your job or the color of your skin. When he saw Arthur standing there helpless and embarrassed, something strong moved inside Samuel's heart. Without thinking twice, Samuel stepped forward. His voice was calm but strong when he spoke. "Put his groceries with mine. I will pay for them." The whole store became completely quiet. Karen blinked her eyes in surprise, then started to laugh. She thought Samuel was making a joke. But Samuel wasn't joking. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his small, worn wallet. He counted his money carefully. Each bill represented many hours of hard work, sweat, and tired muscles. Samuel had earned this money by working long days and nights. He put the money down on the counter with confidence. "He should get his groceries," Samuel said softly, looking straight into Arthur's eyes. "Nobody should have to go without food." Everything changed in that moment. The shoppers who had been laughing or judging Arthur just minutes before now stood completely still. They felt ashamed of how they had acted. The man in the expensive suit who had been making fun of Arthur now looked uncomfortable. He realized how cruel his words had been. Karen stopped laughing and processed the payment, her face turning red with embarrassment. Arthur stood there holding his rejected card, feeling his chest fill with emotion. For many years, he had tested people by pretending to be poor. He wanted to find real kindness in the world. And here it was, not from rich people, not from powerful people, but from a janitor who gave his hard-earned money to help a stranger keep his dignity. As Samuel picked up his mop to go back to work, Arthur stopped him. With tears starting to form in his eyes, Arthur whispered, "You didn't need to do that for me, but you did do it." "Why?" Samuel smiled, even though his face looked tired from working so hard. "Because I know what it's like to feel small and unimportant. I know what it's like when people judge you for things that don't really matter. And if I can help someone feel better, even just a little bit, I will do it." His words were simple, but they came from deep in his heart and from real-life experience. Arthur left the store that day carrying his groceries, but more importantly, he carried Samuel's act of selfless kindness deep in his heart. The old millionaire had found what he had been looking for all along, proof that kindness still existed, especially in the most unexpected places. But Arthur wasn't finished yet. Arthur had always made himself a promise. When he found someone whose heart was more beautiful than money, he would change their life forever. The next morning, Samuel came to work just like every other day. He pushed his cart of cleaning supplies through the store aisles, ready to start another day of hard work. Suddenly, the manager called him to the office. This was unusual and made Samuel nervous. When Samuel got to the office, he couldn't believe his eyes. There stood Arthur, but he looked completely different. Instead of old, worn clothes, Arthur was wearing a beautiful, expensive suit that showed quiet power and success. Samuel's eyes got wide with shock as he recognized the man he had helped the day before. Arthur stepped forward, his voice full of gratitude and determination. "Samuel," he said, "you gave money when you had very little to give. You protected my dignity when others tried to destroy it. You saw me not for what I looked like on the outside, but for who I really was inside. Now it's my turn to help you." Arthur told Samuel the truth about who he really was. He explained that he wasn't a struggling old man at all, but a millionaire with enough money to change people's lives. Samuel was so shocked he couldn't speak. He couldn't understand what was happening. Arthur continued, looking directly into Samuel's eyes. "I want to give you the chance you deserve. This isn't charity. It's an opportunity to build the life you've always dreamed of. Starting today, you don't have to be a janitor anymore unless you want to be. I am offering you a job in my company, training to learn new skills, education money for your children, and a future where your kindness gets rewarded like it should." Tears ran down Samuel's face as he dropped his cleaning gloves on the floor. Other employees gathered around, whispering in amazement. They realized that the man they had made fun of yesterday was actually someone very powerful and wealthy. But the real power in that room didn't come from Arthur's money. It came from Samuel's good heart. Because in that single moment when Samuel stepped forward to help, he had changed not just Arthur's faith in humanity, but his own destiny as well. Arthur and Samuel walked out of the store together. Two men from very different worlds, connected by a moment of kindness that changed both their lives forever. The laughter that had once embarrassed Arthur was now replaced by clapping as shoppers and workers watched the unlikely pair leave side by side. The story of what happened that day spread quickly throughout the community. It became a reminder that the smallest act of kindness can create ripples that grow into something far greater than we can ever imagine. If this story touched your heart, please like it and share it so others can feel the power of kindness too. Follow our page for more real emotional stories that remind us of the good that still exists in this world. And before you go, we would love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and tell us. Do you believe one small act of kindness can change a life forever? Arthur already knew the answer to that question. Samuel had proven it was true, and the world would never forget what happened that day.